So we've got our data in. We know now that some deals are at various levels of risk for COVID, some are not. So the next question is, how do we start using that data? Obviously, you can create custom reports and dashboards around this data, but one of the most important areas for this to show up is going to be in your forecasts. So you'll come into your forecast settings here. You just go to Setup, Home, Forecast. You type in here, go to Forecast Settings, and then you'll click on this opportunity revenue or whatever forecast it is that you want to incorporate this to. You may have multiple types, but that's something your admin should know. And then you can come in here under available and selected columns, and you can pull this right into your forecast view. And let's go ahead and put it right after stage. Click OK at the bottom. We'll enable manager adjustments and click save. So now that we've got our forecast saved, we're going to go back here to the UI and we're going to go into our forecast tab, which if you're not using forecast, this is such a useful tool, especially at a time like this. And we can talk more about this maybe in a separate video if we need to, and how do you use forecasts. But this should give you kind of a quick overview of how you would use forecasts, especially in a scenario like this. So you're a sales manager, you come in and you're looking at your pipeline. And you can break this down either by months or quarters. You can then break it down by team members and dig into the hierarchy to go down to each member. And so it's really, really useful from that perspective to understand each member's contribution towards against their quota. Obviously, I haven't put any quotas in here yet, but you could. So how are they doing against their quota? How much of that for that time period is closed already, is in commit, best case, or pipeline? So really, really helpful to get a view of that, but really helpful to dig into, all right, I'm seeing that in April, we have 420 closed, we have 120 commit, 115 in best case, and 115 in pipeline. And obviously, my goal as a sales manager is to move these dollars from the right to the left, pull these into closed, and try to lock down as much revenue as we can for this month or this period. And so I'm going to have coaching calls where I get on the phone with, in this case, it's my opportunities, but let's say this was a team member and I'm coaching this person, Spencer, and I say, hey, Spencer, I'm looking at your pipeline here. Let's dig into some of your commit revenue. All right, I clicked into your commit revenue. I see that it's all just one deal. It's one huge deal with Express Logics. Looks like 120,000, but you're telling me that even though it's at 70%, there's a medium COVID risk. So let's talk through that. Let's understand, are they looking at pushing the deal? Are they putting this project on hold altogether? What have you found out about, how COVID has impacted this deal? And should we actually be adjusting this or compensating for this? Because then as a manager, I can update my commit revenue and say, you know what? I think that they're probably going to need to reduce their budget significantly due to COVID. There's a medium risk of that. So I'm going to forecast and send the message upwards that I really only think 50,000 of this we can count on. Medium COVID risk of reducing budget on Express Logics deal. Watching closely. So I can go ahead and put in a management note that overrides the amount that I'm committing, and this little yellow icon here, you can click on it and see that without adjustments we'd be at 120, but this is the impact COVID is having on my forecast for my team. And we're go ahead and we're explaining that here with our text. But just as important, if someone were to come in above me in the hierarchy and look at my forecast, they could see that it's because we only have one deal, which is high risk. It's not diversified across a lot of deals, that number that I'm reporting, and it's a medium COVID risk. So people can immediately key into, how COVID is impacting my pipeline for my team. Same thing for best case. You can click in here. Both of these are medium risks. Pipeline, we've got a bunch of high risk stuff in the pipeline. Okay, so how do we work through with the rep these clients and these deals? How do we either overcome the COVID risk or start planning accordingly? Because I can see that this pipeline number is really putting us at risk because it's going to feed right in as we go down the months. That should be powering our future closed and commit numbers. So I'm going to get really, pay a lot of attention to that, to these high risk items. And I'm also going to probably, again, adjust this estimate way down to reflect what is probably a lot smaller number than we're seeing. So that is how you bring that field into your forecast view and start using it to make adjustments and signal up to management, hey, here's the impact COVID is having. And if you haven't already done something like this, you can see I just built this out. If you work with your admin, you can have something stood up like this in 10 minutes. It's just not, it's not hard to do, but it really then comes down to the organizational discipline of, do we have, a lot of companies right now are having a much faster cadence in terms of sales meetings and being able to understand where everything stands in the pipeline, how things are moving, and trying to increase that communication, that feedback.